And hopefully one of you, hopefully one of you out there can give this dragon a home. She needs one. It's to celebrate 4,000 followers, and I've already begun the storyline plotting for what is going to happen as an event when we hit 5K. And each of you up there, you can see, um, you can see we're on the march to 5,000, and hopefully you all out there can help us reach 5K through raids, through suggesting us to awesome streamers like Careful Cantrip, like Dreaded GM who came in earlier, and together we can keep building this place up and having it be even more better. If you ever thought such a thing was possible, let's prove it, one workshop at a time. Anyway, thanks to you all for sticking around for that. Now, let's get back to what we're going over. We are going to go through character creation in Daggerheart and start looking at the math and how this is working. So the classes and their subclasses are different with some of their different like thresholds for damage and such. And as well as the abilities that you choose. You know what? Let's get some music going in the background. There we go. All right. So choose a heritage. Oh yeah. So class and subclass. Those are going to give you some goodies. Now in this game, you don't exactly write those down on your character sheet. You'll see. You get cards that you can play around with. You can kind of slot into or out of your adventure. That's why this is kind of a fusion board game or trading card game as well as a TTRPG. Or it gives you something that you can play with. That's why I call elements like this a fidget spinner for your character. This is part of your fidget spinner. So you choose your heritage. Which is going to give you some more cards to get abilities. Set your traits and evasion. Distribute the values -1, 0, 0, +1, +1, and +2 across your character traits. When rolling, you'll add the value of the character traits to the roll, then record your starting evasion score. And that is different per class as well. Set your thresholds and hope. Each class will start with its own damage thresholds detailed on the character sheet under the hit points section. Record these in their appropriate spaces. Then take 2 hope to start the game. Hope is a currency you spend on your abilities. Hope and fear are emotional prompts, as well as a currency that you and the GM are going to be spending throughout a game of Daggerheart. There's some standard loadout packages to equip your adventurer, who is presumed to be an adventurer, like right out the gate. That's why, again, like kind of video game feel also. Like Mario starts out, and you're like, Mario's the hero of the story. Link starts out, you know where this is going from here. Your character is like a video game character in that regard. Choose starting armor, take one of the available starting armors, and record the details. And there's different tiered armors and such in the inventory section. You can look at it. You can look at all your options on your own there. Take your starting inventory. Choose your description. Take domain deck cards. Each class is made up of 2 different domains listed below the class name on the character sheet. Choose 2 cards. Choose 2 cards from the level 1 cards in those domains from the domain decks. You may share these decks with other classes. If you do, make sure to talk with them about what cards they're interested in as well. Answer some background questions, generate your experience, which is what takes place of skills in other systems. You have an idea of a life experience, which is kind of a cluster of skills that you might be good at because you've been through something before that might relate in some way to a current event based on what you've had in your past. Assign one experience +2 and the other +1. Yep, here we go. So mechanically, that's the end of you get your experience. That's part of your generating your backstory and we keep moving. Various prompts for this. Don't need to worry about that. If you just want to go off of this for quick, then you say, all right, my name is Alucard Abbott. Because there you go. You just took the first one, right? I am from Stone's Throw in Watcher's Ravine, and my experience is bodyguard and noble. Whatever, right? All these systems have this. I'm not going past it quickly because it's not important, but these are things that if you haven't played a TTRPG, you're going to find this is ubiquitous. So if you want to read it, you can read it, but I'm not here to read a list of names. So here is a warrior character sheet. And when you look at it, this is your character sheet. Here's your armor, here's your evasion. Your different attributes here. These are your various trackers that will go up or down as you put tokens or you mark if you want. Like the damage is different than hit point loss in this game. We can get to that. Your experiences. Gold is measured in coins, handfuls, bags, or a chest. This does away with a lot of minutia of how many copper to a silver. So how many silver do you have, and then how many gold pieces weigh the same as how many silver pieces, etc. There's just sort of like a fixed notion. And your inventory is, you have inventory slots, you fill it, there you go. Does it sound reasonable? There's a lot that is left open for you. There's a lot that is left open for you if you want to do a quick style play. The game isn't worrying a lot about the minutia and urges people to just talk things out. You have some class features here. After a successful attack roll, you can describe how you outmaneuver your target, then mark a stress to deal them a stress. Marking a stress so that you could put like an X on it, you could put a token on it or something. You have a stress level and hit points. Attack of opportunity. If an adversary attempts to leave your melee range, make a reaction roll against their difficulty. Choose one effect on a successful roll or two on a critical success. You can keep them from moving, deal your primary weapon damage, or move with them. Combat training. Ignore burden when equipping weapons. Whenever you roll damage, add extra physical damage. Oh, yeah, there is a burden system, but it's still pretty simple. Bulk system is kind of similar in Paizo, in Pathfinder. Alien RPG, speaking of Free League. There are things, there are weights that you can have. But there's also just a lot of minutia of stuff that you don't really have to worry about until you do. And so these are things to fill in. Is it a one-handed or two-handed weapon that you have as your primary, secondary? What's the armor that you're currently wearing? You can see that this is a pretty stripped down. It's a pretty simple character sheet because this is a point of reference for the cards that you're going to be holding in your hand here in just a second. So here are suggested traits if you want a quick build. Suggested primary weapon and such. So if you want to make, male human fighter, what is the bog standard in D&D? That's the meme. Here's a way that you can quick gen it. So I'm not going to worry about the suggestions. You can read about those on Daggerheart.com. Yes, this is the 50th anniversary of D&D, Woden. So you get some starting stuff. Again, kind of like a video game character, standard loadout. Here you go, and you're dropped into a world of adventure. Some background questions you can answer. Nothing necessarily mechanical, but does encourage you to partake in the world in which you're adventuring. As well as, so the background is for you personally. Your connections are connections with other members of the party. Then, as you level up, this is the same between all of the classes and subclasses. As you go through these different tiers and levels, you have customization. So all of the classes are siloed into this set. However, you might have 2 warriors in your party, and they take different they take different routes with what you check off in gaining on your level up. Sierra Echo says, unlike me, D&D can't turn 29 forever. Hey, this guy right here. So you do get more powerful, but it's not per class. You definitely can't think of this like leveling up a D&D character through a set route through the class. There's set upgrades that every class can access. Your route might be different through them. And then you take different powers as you level up. Because after you do this, increase your severe damage threshold by +2 and choose a new domain deck card at your level or lower. And so this is, you get a new power. Kind of like how you might get a new spell or spell slot, or you might get a new feat or a class feature in D&D, or an equivalent in other things. So walk through things. You can print that out and use that if you need a visual guide. Here's a list of equipment that you can use for starting out weapons. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about the math. This is basic loadout stuff. Now here's your play guide. So when the GM calls for an action roll, decide what modifiers apply. Spend hope to add an experience if you think it can apply to something. You know, you want to do something. Well, determine, can you modify it with your experience? If so, you can spend one of those currencies of hope to increase your chances, right? And so in this case, if your experience is thief, and so you're trying to do something thiefy, and the GM has determined this is an agility-based action roll, then there you go. You can spend the hope. You get +1 from thief. You have a +1 to your agility in this example. Roll your duality dice and add them together along with your modifiers. So in this instance, if we have the white D12 is hope and the black D12 is fear, then you add everything together. So we have 18 +1 agility +1 thief. That's 20. However, fear was the higher number. And so in this case, you tell your GM, I have a 20 with fear. Tell the GM the result and which duality die rolled higher. And so then the consequences will occur from there. It's fairly straightforward. And the system doesn't want you rolling a bunch. Leaving a lot of it, hopefully, to you and your friends telling a story at a table. If the hope and fear die both land on the same number, it's a critical success. Here's the breakdown of the action roll results if you need a primer for that. For damage rolls, after a successful attack, roll a number of weapon dice equal to your proficiency and add them together. If the attack roll was a critical success, take the maximum potential value of all damage dice. If you're taking damage, you may mark armor slots to reduce the amount by your armor score. Multiple armor slots may be marked to reduce the damage further. There's advantage and disadvantage, which if you come from a D&D background, 5e background, then that will sound familiar and will act the same way. You can help an ally with if you spend a hope. You can take a group action. There's a tag team roll, and then there's some other conditions here. Quick reference for you here. Things that you can do on a short rest or long rest, and it's important to point this out. Similar to D&D and other systems, because clearing stress, repairing armor, You know, you clear the slots to do that sort of thing or tend to your wounds. It's supposed to prompt conversation as well as renew, or like deplete bad things and renew good things, to put it very shortly. Now, if we come over here, you can see that these can print out. Hi, Jenna. Wait, Simba? Am I Simba? Are you a rolling like thunderhead of clouds? Simba. Hello. How you doing, Jenna? So you can see that the cards here play into your character. You would hold these in your hand, or there's an area called the vault where you store things you're not using. But for example, let's say that you are playing a dwarf. We have when you take physical damage, you can spend 3 hope to have that damage. And so you have the currency, you can spend it, you play the card, and that thing occurs. And then you can restore that or swap it out for something else on a rest. So there are different things that you can do depending on it is heritage or heritage is both community and ancestry. Ancestry here. Well, hello to you, Jenna, and thank you for stopping by the Hero Zone. Do you play a lot of tabletop role-playing games? This is where we get the crossover with board games or card games. Community, so you get one of these too. You can print these out. So if you were a dwarf that was very nautical, you're a seaborn dwarf. Know the tide. You can sense the ebb and flow of life and have learned to embrace its rhythm. When you roll with fear, put a token on this card. Before you make an action roll, you can spend 1 or more of these tokens to add them as +1 modifiers to your roll. At the end of a session, clear all tokens on this card and gain that many hope. There you go. Well, Jenna, then I appreciate the random hello. Small, random acts of kindness are very much welcome in a place like this. What are the hobbies that you enjoy? I mean, are they like painting miniatures, model stuff, RC cars? Do you like playing, Pokemon the video game or the card game? If not, indulging in role-playing games. What are some hobbies or things that you enjoy? It could even be something gardening. Man, it's springtime, at least up here. I mean, if you're in the southern hemisphere, then I hope you have a beautiful autumn coming your way and relief from the heat. We're stealing that sun back 2 minutes a day, everyone. So these are cards that you can have, or that in this case you would keep out and you would use as a tracker for certain things to happen. So now we have, as a warrior, your 2 domains are blade or bone. And you can choose one of these level 1, a level 1 from each, or you can go 2 in blade or 2 in bone. And then you have if you want to go for a foundation warrior, here's subclass as well. So there is some customization. 2 of you can be warriors, and you might choose different abilities because it matches a play style that you want for this kind of deck building. Not quite deck building. It doesn't play out like Slay the Spire, but in a sense that you're building a pool of abilities to a spec to do something better, right? Oh, Pokemon Go. Well, Jenna, I always love meeting new Pokemon Go players. I play as well. If you're looking for friends, I can send you a gift every day. Oh, Simba, you know Jenna. Okay, Jenna is new, not much of a gamer. Okay. Well, still, you're very welcome. Resident Evil. That is a very wizened and a very venerable uh, uh, game, and geez, a series of games of all different types. So you know what, Jenna? If that's how you start into gaming hobbies, you are absolutely welcome around these here parts. So you can read through these. I'm not going to go over everyone. I don't have a video or lined up of like this is the oh shoot what's the click what would be a clickbaity thing. Daggerheart, the 3 best builds for warrior, and it's not what you think. I don't have something lined up where I go. So you play an underborn dwarf with and you take deft maneuvers and retaliation, and approximately 52.93% of the time, repeated of course, then you will always deal blah blah blah. I don't have something like that lined up, though I can tell you, having played 4th edition D&D, this is very familiar, and this is where you get your character customization. Why is your warrior different from another warrior? Which is a complaint some people might have with D&D of, I play a fighter and I feel very samey to other fighters. If there's 2 fighters on a team in D&D, subclasses aside, or one goes sword and one goes axe or whatever, there can be a sameness. Now, that can exist here with Daggerheart, but if you have a constriction to, aside from a basic attack, like here are some little tricks that you have, then your tricks are varied from warrior to warrior. Resident Evil is the only RPG game that I know. You know of Dungeons and Dragons, but you have never played. Jenna, all you need to know about D&D or any other tabletop role-playing game is it's an opportunity for you and your friends or family to sit down at a table and spend an evening having fun telling a story together. Unlike in video games, you are not constrained by the mechanics that are programmed into the game. For as cool as Resident Evil is, you can only follow the path. You can only shoot the zombies or the red barrels. In Dungeons and Dragons, you are narrating what you want to have happen at any particular point in time, and you can shoot whatever you want. Not just a zombie or not just a conveniently placed red barrel. Because ultimately this is a story in which you are a living part of, and that you are a member of this fantasy world or sci-fi world. That you have a direct hand in what is happening. You aren't playing a game necessarily. You are a player in something grand and wonderful. So you can go through and pick out the abilities here in, whatever's going to tickle your fancy. As you level up, see, there's different cards, different ways that you can build and go. You can, presumably, you can sit down, as communication is encouraged in this game, to talk with your teammates and say, all right, well, if I get battle hardened in level 6, what if you as other warrior take rapid repost? Because I think we can combine our abilities and do this. And it looks like there's going to be, more to come here. If this is your style, or you come from a board game or a collectible card game background, if you're familiar with 4th edition D&D, then you might go, oh yeah, this is the stuff right here. This is it. I'm all about it. I want to play my cards. I want to have those special strikes. I want to do that. If you're much more pen and paper, you could replace the cards with like maybe a second character sheet or something along those lines. But you can see here in Daggerheart that the character sheet's a lot more simple because there are extra components to it, the little fidget spinners for you to play with. that are outside of this core reference for your character as he or she is moving forward. Now, for as much as I was talking about Ariel, hello, welcome to you. Welcome to the Hero Zone. Yeah, you just have to start somewhere, right? So things are fairly streamlined when it comes to this, which is all the more a tragedy with how the playtest rules are written. There's a lot of little things that yes you could do, or circumstantial things that are prompted. Options to explore narrative, or even a mechanical circumstance that comes up, or a choice to make on, well, is the juice worth the squeeze? Do I mark off armor on this hit, or can I afford to take this hit on something or another? But getting involved does seem to be, a pretty straightforward experience. That's why the threshold for playing Daggerheart seems to be, 10 plus. I think 10 plus can easily get into this game and play it. Running it with how the rules are written out, I would have it be at a higher threshold than 10 or even 13. Unless really everyone at the table is just like, you know what, whatever. Like I just want to play I want to play my Saturday morning cartoon hero in this style of fantasy adventure. I just want to play Mario or Link. We're only going to have a one shot, so I really don't care about the rules, and I just want to throw some dice and have a fun time that way. Yeah. You don't have to be an outgoing person. That you could be a quiet person at the table, or someone who, you're into everything, but the way you express yourself is different as a player or through your character, because you like acting through your character. There's no one way to go about it. Ariel is absolutely correct. If you want to play Captain Planet in Daggerheart, I'm sure you could find some build that would be somewhat comparable. Otherwise, there's other systems that I'm sure could be a lot more directly mechanically a manifestation. But yeah, Jenna, I highly recommend it. And in fact, Daggerheart, as we've been going over, this is aimed at being very beginner friendly, because it has pieces like a board game or a card game. It heavily encourages everyone talk and tell a story, and don't worry as much about the math. There is a little bit of what we call crunch in this system. Crunch is things like rules. It's not bad necessarily, but think of Crunch's rules. Fluff is lore, storytelling, the sentimental things, not hard math. Roll the die and add 2. That's Crunch. How do you decide to climb up the slippery staircase? That's Fluff. Fluff and Crunch, right? So this has some crunch. It's not a very crunchy system. There's options to make it very crunchy. But this doesn't really have to be. It pretty much boils down to, if you want to do something, narrate what's happening, use the circumstances and environment around you for beneficial effect, possibly detriment. That will give you modifiers. So roll your dice, add your modifiers, and do you meet or beat a certain threshold that the GM, the game master, tells you, then that thing was successful in some way. Even if it was somehow successful at a cost, or it wasn't successful at all, or it was very, very successful and you might get an extra little bonus out of it. I don't know, that seemed pretty succinct. Do I have... Let's see, here's our So this is the vault sheet. You have your different, your different abilities you can write down for what you're storing. Your vault is where you're keeping your abilities, because you can only have 5 at a time, so you can't use everything at once. Again, it kind of goes into video game. You might go, well, if I know how to swing an axe downwards and I know how to hit people at the side of the axe, why can't I do both things on the same day? Look, that's just how the rules are. Because this is, in other systems, you can do everything and anything. In this one, it's not that you can't describe something as it, but there's a mechanical crunch effect on a card, and you can't have all cards at all times. And so this is where you can write down, these could be like the extensions of your character sheet if you don't want to play with cards and, like, flip them in your hand, put them in whatever. You could use this as a written out part of it, and then you can have a couple sheets out at once. Or you could just, if you love the cards and you print it out on a nice stock, then just, write those out here in some way. But yeah, this is, different ways to approach it. The different classes will play out differently. So, for example, here's our warrior. And let me see if I can bring up, we talked about Captain Planet. I will open up the druid. And let's check out what let's see what the druid has to offer here. Is there one? Yeah. Class package, druid. So if we look here, between the two, warrior gets to choose powers between blade and bone. Druid gets to choose powers between Sage and Arcana. You can also see that your evasion starts at 8 for Druid, whereas your evasion starts at 10 for warrior. And your hit point threshold on a warrior is 1/8/16 for converting damage to hit point loss, as compared to a druid, which is 1/7/14 for converting damage into hit point loss. So slightly different stats, although you'll see there's a lot of other similarities, because, weapons are weapons, armor's armor. Your class features are different. You get Wild Touch and Beast Form, which have their own effects. You can download this playtest for free, by the way, if you just want to look at Daggerheart. Whereas you get these class features as a warrior. And then a recommendation if you want to build, here's what we suggest. Starting character, you move forward from there. Questions to ask about this or that to immerse yourself in the world and ingratiate yourself with the party members. But when we get here, you can see what I said about leveling up. All classes get the same potential to grow through. Increase 2 unmarked character traits by +1 and mark them. Increase 2 unmarked character traits by +1 and mark them. We come over here to increase your proficiency by +1, or we come over here to increase your proficiency by +1. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the 5th one down. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the 5th one down. So there's the same potential through which the classes may grow as you level up. And that's what makes this a different and a unique system from D&D, or in a sense, some broader ones like Call of Cthulhu and such might do things similarly with different terminology. but this still lets you have 2 different warriors or 2 different druids on the same team, such you don't feel exactly like you're, you know, in a mirror match in a fighting game kind of a thing. The same move pool, right? Because then when you take, you know, you might get these different beast forms and such. You might have different equipment. That's whatever. But you might choose a different ancestry card or a different community card. Because if you have a druid that's a daemon, that you're going to be able to do some things differently than a druid that's an elf. And then let's say that you have 2 druids that are both elves. One of those elves might be Wildborn, and the other one might be Highborn. And so there's a little bit of difference. Or you choose a different subclass. You can go Warden of Renewal or a Warden of the Element. I said Foundation, I think, with Warrior in the last one. This is a Foundation card. You choose one of these, and this is your subclass at your at level 1. Yeah, you're a druid. Which kind of druid? Are you a Warden of the Elements, in which case you get these powers, or are you a Warden of Renewal, in which case you get these powers instead? And you move forward from there. And so you build up your powers. You can play them over play. You know, you have some dice rolls in there, and hopefully you have a fun time with friends or family. Maybe you eat some Thai food, pizza, or popcorn. You have a good time, and you do it again next week with Daggerheart or something else. And because that's ultimately the core of this. So it's not too overwhelming. I keep saying, well, let's look at the math or the crunch. For example, I don't know if this is overpowered. If Cloaking Blast, a level 7 power, make an attack roll using your primary weapon against a target. On a success, along with dealing damage, you can also spend a hope to immediately become hidden. I don't know if mechanically that is way overpowered, or we look at Cloaking Blast and go, literally no one, as we push our glasses up onto our noses. Literally no one should ever take Cloaking Blast ever. 2 out of 10. I'm dropping this game until Cloaking Blast is unnerfed into a playable state, you know. But I hope you get the gist of how it would play out. And I think the elements here do help reinforce that Daggerheart is meant for beginner play, first time play, or something different. If you don't want to play Call of Cthulhu, D&D, something that might be considered a more traditional presentation of a role-playing game, by having these board game or card game elements, this newer style. I mean, it's drawing on 4th edition, and I liked 4th edition. It's drawing on 4th edition, but it's this fusion style, a newer style of play that might be easier for some people to process or get into. If you have a background in board gaming, you say, oh, I'm fine. Oh, hey! Well. Fiend, it's great to have you here, my friend. Welcome back to the Hero Zone. Yeah, Comic Raid. How are things going for you? What were you doing in D&D, or was it an illustration and comic work night? Also, thank you very much to Bewitched Faye for coming along on this raid, first-time raider. Catharos Chaos, also in on the comic raid. Zelda Elf Studios. You've been here once or twice before, Zelda. Also in on the comic raid. Thank you so much. You know that you are always welcome here in the Hero Zone. We've been going over Daggerheart, or at least the version 1.3 beta test, the playtest packet that is publicly available. We've been going over getting a feel for the themes, the direction of the game. You know, who is it written for? Who is it more aimed at? What type of person might be a really solid, like a more solid fit as a player or as a storyteller, as a game master in Daggerheart. And we just finished going over characters. How do you run them? Character creation's pretty straightforward, and it holds your hand pretty well through the material that's here. Since there's a lot more things that are left for creative explanation, it might seem like, I don't know, my options are kind of limited. I just get like a handful of cards and that's all I can do. You can do more descriptively. It's just that for mechanical balance reasons, there's only so many times that you can do this big move kind of a thing. Well, I guess if we are to continue the workshop in the next part, what I can do, I can prepare. Well, we can make characters, but you know what? Maybe tomorrow we just delve into the pre-written adventure. We'll take a look at the pre-generated characters, and we can walk through the adventure to see how it plays out. Because the mechanics are baked into it. And this could be interactive with you all up in chat here, because I actually, I do have the ability to roll 2d12 in chat. And so we can have some fun with that. We can go on this adventure together, and I don't know if Belladonna or someone wanted to hop in voice chat and can go along with this and be another directionless voice haunting us. But maybe we can work that out, and then we'll give the playtest this starting adventure, you know, like going out, doing a little baseline exploring, a little baseline combat, and see how things flow. From, you know, beyond the nicety of, well, anything is anything, you could describe it as such. When it comes down to, you know, when might you roll more often, or what might happen in a roll? You know, how do you move forward? Are the damage to the damage to threshold to hit point loss, is it too bumper bowly, or is it actually perfectly balanced if such a thing exists? But we can have rubber meet the road and not just theory crafting based on what we're reading and seeing in a document, because ultimately every story system, no matter how streamlined or convoluted it might seem to you, ultimately what plays out between human beings telling a story is what really matters the most. And what do the Hearts of Dagger do? The system is meant to give you like kind of Saturday morning cartoon video game like hero adventure. You know, very like burst of color. You know, I can't say it plays out like an anime. But it's a beginner-friendly system for players, anyway, to hop into role-playing and to acclimate to what that next step is outside of just playing a trading card game or playing board games. No, hopefully that is a succinct way to answer your question, Simba.